Ever wondered how you can elevate your podcast speaking skills? Today, I'm sharing my top tips and tricks to help you engage your audience, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And this is a little riff I went on one of my classes with the Influence Army community. Listen in and enjoy. There's some great tips. You know when someone is selling from stage and at the end, the audience gets up and rushes to the back of the room to buy? That's a table rush. My name is Misha Z, and the Table Rush Talk Show is all about bringing you the tools, strategies, and tactics that you can use to grow your audience and inspire them to buy. So, does anybody want to speak better on podcasts when they go on tour? I see Stacy shaking her head, yes. Whitney, yes. Aristotle?
I want to get on one, so.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks to start thinking about. Yes. Jacqueline said yes. So I used to listen to Zig Ziglar a lot. I'm sorry, I did. And
Go Sweat Hogs.
And somebody somewhere along the way said, smile when you talk on the phone. Because I made millions of sales calls, and they're like, smile and sit up straight. Open your diaphragm. Okay? And so what you'll see in the sales words these days is they encourage salespeople who are on the phones now to talk standing up. Okay? And so after I used to write everywhere for decades. I did this literally. I would print out a piece of paper and I would put smile on it, and I would put it everywhere. And then I had one of those selfie stick things that had a big smile on it. You know those little selfie sticks that you see? This was before selfies. It had a big smile before actual selfies, but it had a big smile stick on it, a big smile on it. And I put that right by the phone. So I would remember to smile and sit up straight and open my diaphragm. So now I just have the habit of doing it. Before I jump on a Zoom call, I tend to just be smiling, shoulders rolled back. I'm in an open and engaging space. So these are things that we can start doing. That's one thing that we can start doing to practice. That's tip one. Tip two is there's this lady, McCall Jones, who's amazing. And McCall Jones, she does what's called charisma hacking. And McCall Jones is she basically helps you, like if you're super outgoing, she helps you embrace that super outgoingness. If you tend to be more reserved, she helps you embrace that reservedness. So she's not trying to get you to be anything that you're not. She's really just saying, hey, there's different types of people. We have different charisma styles. And so we just want to be able to embrace the style that we have. So I was on this call with her on a hot seat, whatever. And I've seen her a couple of times and had a few opportunities to talk to her. And one time she said, this was amazing and I loved it and I use it all the time. She says, we want to bring a certain excitement when we get on a call or on a podcast, right? And she says, but we don't want to be like a 10. We want 7 excitement, right? Like if you're too excited, you're going to freak everybody out. Right. And this McCall she is so excited anyway that like her 7 is my 10. But so she's not trying to get you to be anything you're not. She just wants you to be you, but bring the 7 you. And so she says, what you do is before you go live on your podcast or before you go live on stage or before you walk into a room, if you're going to go engage with people, she says, think about, again, has a little bit to do with writing stories. Think about the 7 moments in your life that were brought you 7 excitement, right? And so like a 10 excitement would be when you have your first child, right? Or maybe when your husband proposed to you or something like that. That's your like, oh my gosh, it's like you're jumping up and down. You're a bad sorority girl. Sorry, I don't know. I was watching it's a clip or something. but there's like a 7 excitement, right? So a 10 excitement for me would have been when my boys were born, or something like that. So what's a 7 excitement? I was when I first started my podcast, I stumbled across this guy. His name was Matt Cox. Matt, he was one of the first big speakers that I invited onto my podcast that said yes. And I was like, oh my God. And I can tell you that story for 30 seconds. So what you do is you find that 7 story or a few 7 stories, and then you tell it to yourself verbally out loud before you get on the podcast. So I'd be like, oh my gosh, I remember when I sent that email to Matt Cox, and I was so freaking nervous. And I was like, Matt, I'd love to have you on my podcast. Da, 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 da. And then almost instantly I got an email back, and it was yes. I was like, oh my God. So see how I get more animated as I'm telling myself that story. So those are some tricks you can do. And then I always say a little prayer too beforehand. God, how can I be of service, and what can I bring to the table? Mas Vidal is coming to dinner. Woot woot. And I try to remember it's about serving. How can I serve? And I got that from I will spare you where I learned that, but I did learn that too. There's your tips and tricks. Anybody else have any comments, questions, anything around that? Stacy? No? Yes?
For us,
Yeah.
it's easy, but for the introverts, people that are struggling with going to speak on camera or even on a podcast. So, what would you say to the introverts that really struggle with getting to a 4 to excitement about being on camera?
Yeah, I'll tell you this too, and I appreciate that. I think you're probably in a natural 7 state most of the time, and then I'm fairly adept since I've been in sales and networking and all these things for so many years. It's just habit for me that I naturally, when I'm walking into a room, I just drop into like naturally. I do a lot of these things that we're talking about. But to answer the question for someone who's introverted, I think the key thing to remember is we don't need to be anybody that we're not. So we're not trying to like if you want to wear a hoodie on your podcast, wear your hoodie on your podcast when you're being interviewed. You know what I'm saying? If you're like, I think it's okay to
wear your sunglasses for people that don't want to be seen.
Hoodie.
Well, no, I'm just saying that we have to find something to help them get from a 0. I do not want to speak on podcast to like a 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think this is
the studio.
I'm going to say this again. If you are super introverted and super uncomfortable and you walk in as a 1 and you are interviewed as a 1, there's a huge likelihood that a whole bunch of 1s are going to go, that's my person.
Aww.
And that's my point.
Yay.
Okay.
Thank you. I feel happier for the introverts now.
Yes. We are not trying to have you be unintroverted. We're just trying to have you be you. And I'm in full 100% belief, I'll say it again, that if you're introverted and you go on and you're in your introverted state, people are going to go, that's my person.
That's great.
Yep. Okay,
beautiful.
Cool. Yep. Whitney, do you have a 7 story?
I was just going to share that. So as a kid, fun fact, I showed rabbits in 4-H, and you have to stand up at a table and do all these like posing, and they talk to you about smiling. You're supposed to look like engaging, and it cannot be the most exciting thing to be doing, moving this rabbit around. Anyway, I used to tell myself like jokes in my head, or think of like the funniest thing that I could pick out of, I don't know, about the judge or whatever, that I would just constantly have like this ridiculous grin plastered on my face, and it helped like put me in that mindset. And I ended up winning. I was a grand champion showman one year, and the judge said like, this presenter was smiling the whole time. And, you know, he had no idea why I was smiling. Didn't really matter. It was the point that like I succeeded in doing it. So I just wanted to add that. I thought if you don't have your own like memories of a 7 or whatever, when you're starting with smiles and like a joke or something funny that happened.
Love it. Thank you for that. That's amazing. What a great story too. Put that one on the story bank.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, publicize. I'm a grand champion rabbit showman.
Perhaps you will get to tell that story again. Shara?
Yes,
yes.
I'll have to think of some 7 stories. Sorry, I'm driving. But yes, I have to think of some 7 stories. I have a song that I use, different music that I like listen to, and also a mantra that I repeat for myself. But I have to think of some 7 stories as well. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. What's your mantra, if you don't mind me asking?
My mantra. So I have a few. I have a few. It's basically comprised of certain goals that I have in life, and also certain things regarding my personality that I want to elevate and amplify, certain things that I want to get even better in as well. So it's like a combination of things that I share to myself.
Cool. Love it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.